cherry blossoms, known as Hibaru-zakura, bloom every spring in Minami Ward, Fukuoka City. This is the miraculous story of the kind souls involved in protecting a row of cherry blossoms. The year was 1984. Yoshitane Doi lived close to the Hibaru-zakura cherry blossoms and looked forward to seeing their beautiful flowers every year. One morning, Mr. Doi realized that one of the 9 cherry trees had been chopped down. Oh, it must have been cut down for the road work. Does this mean they'll be cutting down the rest of them too? Mr. Doi couldn't stop thinking about the cherry trees for the rest of the day. Then, he thought of a wonderful idea. The next morning, while everyone was still sound asleep, Mr. Doi wrote a short poem on a piece of paper and tied it to one of the cherry trees. Dear Mayor Shinto, the flower protector. Poor beautiful flowers, please let the flowers bloom, but for 2 more verses. It is too sad to see the cherry trees blooming with flowers being chopped down. Please, couldn't you wait at least 20 more days until the last flower falls? The road expansion is needed, but the flowers are trying to bloom. It just seems so sad, but this is all I can do. But no one could have predicted what would happen afterwards. Just a few short minutes after Mr. Doi put the poem on a tree, another man came by and saw it. The man was Tatsuo Kawai, the president of Kyushu Electric Power Company at the time, who also lived close by and felt just as sad as Mr. Doi did for the cherry trees. Can't something be done? That day, Mr. Kawai told one of his employees, Junji Oshima, about the trees. Mr. Oshima went to see the Hibaru-zakura straight away, but still thought there was no way he could stop a public project like this road expansion. But then, an idea came to mind. Shortly afterwards, the poem Mr. Doi had initially attached to one of the Hibaru-zakura cherry trees was featured in a big newspaper article. Mr. Oshima said to his acquaintance Toshio Matsunaga of the Nishi Nippon Shimbun, "You will see something interesting if you go to the Hibaru area." He was intentionally vague as he knew it would stir Mr. Matsunaga's journalistic spirit. This idea of Mr. Oshima's impressed Mr. Matsunaga, who decided to write a bold newspaper article about the poem. That turn of events would bring about yet another miracle. This is something. The mayor of Fukuoka City at the time, Kazuma Shinto, read the newspaper article and was touched. So moved was he that he left a poem of his own on a cherry tree in response. Reluctant to say goodbye to the cherry blossoms, the Japanese spirit is grand. Its scent will not last for eternity. The heart of the flower is Kazuma. What Mayor Shinto was trying to express in this poem was that regardless of what he himself, even as the mayor of this city, may think, he could not stop public projects based on his emotions alone. So these trees may be cut down, but he understood Mr. Doi's feelings and love for the cherry trees and flowers. The Kazuma he wrote using different kanji characters in the poem was actually referring to himself, Kazuma Shinto. Couldn't we let the flowers live a little longer? Mayor Shinto asked Seiji Ishii, who was in charge of the city's construction project, whether they could wait until the flowers had fallen before cutting the trees down. Mr. Ishii was really perplexed at this request, as prolonging the work would mean increasing the budget. But he replied, "We will do what we can, sir." Thanks to Mr. Doi's poem, which seemed to be the mouthpiece for the cherry trees themselves, Mr. Ishii and his workers exerted every effort to realize Mayor Shinto's wish. They decided to fill in a nearby pond, build the road there, and relocate the cherry trees that had been on the pond side. The chain of miracles that changed the fate of the cherry trees which had been doomed to be cut down. The kind hearts of the flower protectors who emerged one after another. The relay of the hearts of people who didn't even know each other's names. This relay did much more than let the trees live until the spring flowers of 1984 fell. It allowed the flowers to continue blooming forever. This sequence of events was reported on local television, and the news just happened to be watched by the famous Japanese composer Ikuma Dan, who was in Fukuoka at the time. He then introduced the news in his essay series, The Smoke of a Pipe. It was even published around the world in Reader's Digest. This story is also featured in supplementary textbooks on ethics used by school children in Japan. The setting of this miracle is now a park where Mr. Doi's and Mayor Shinto's poems are preserved on memorial stones. The Hibaru-zakura cherry trees will no doubt bloom beautiful flowers again this year and convey the kindness of the people who protected them years ago. The Hibaru-zakura flowers will certainly bloom for all eternity.